You've been lied to, sold the illusion that certainty is safety, that control means success. But here's the unfiltered truth. Certainty is a cage, and you're rotting in it. Right now, your mind is at war, not with the world, but with the unknown. You stall, you second-guess, you armor yourself in routines that look like discipline, but they're fear in disguise. This is the fracture point, the storm before the threshold. If you want peace, you must override everything you've been taught. Because real peace isn't calm, it's sovereignty in chaos. This isn't a video, it's a trigger, a collapse of old frameworks, a volatile rewire of the mind. If you're just here to watch, leave now. But if you're battle-tested, or ready to become that, step in. We're going to decode the corruption that's kept you small and evolve how you respond to everything. This is irreversible. This is personal. You either awaken now or stay asleep forever. Let's begin. Number 1. Control nothing. Respond to everything. You're not overwhelmed because life is chaotic. You're overwhelmed because you're trying to control it. Most people confuse control with safety, but it's just anxiety wearing a mask. You think you're playing chess with the universe, calculating your next 5 moves, but deep down, you're just scared. Scared of the unknown, scared of collapse, scared of loss. But here's the twist. The world was never built to be controlled. It was built to be responded to. When you stop obsessing over outcomes and start strengthening your response, something incredible happens. Your anxiety weakens. You become agile, not rigid. You stop bracing for impact and start dancing with it. Life stops being a battlefield and starts becoming a dojo, a training ground for resilience. Adaptation becomes your edge, not control. Because power isn't about locking things down. It's about staying fluid under fire. Have you ever noticed how the most powerful people in the room rarely rush to speak? They don't flinch. They observe. Because clarity under chaos is the real flex. Not panic, not noise. Stillness is a superpower, and if you're waiting for things to settle before you act, you're already behind. Life doesn't reward the most prepared. It rewards the most responsive. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That's not just ancient wisdom, that's tactical living. You don't need a crystal ball to win, you need courage in the fog. When the map burns, you build instinct. When the structure breaks, you build presence. So ask yourself, are you trying to control the storm, or are you learning to sail in it? Stop demanding certainty from a world that was never designed to offer it. Instead, sharpen your awareness, build emotional range, and meet life where it is, not where you wish it was. That's when it gets easier. Not because the chaos disappears, but because you've stopped fighting it. 2. Certainty is a trap. Clarity is a weapon. Certainty feels safe, doesn't it? Like a warm blanket over a cold truth. But here's the problem, that safety is an illusion. The brain doesn't chase peace, it chases patterns. And when those patterns break, we panic. That obsession with knowing everything, predicting every twist, securing every outcome. It's not wisdom, it's fear dressed up in logic. We think if we can just know more, control more, expect more, we'll hurt less. But that's not how this works. Certainty is a cage. It doesn't protect you, it traps you. Real power begins when you stop needing guarantees, when you stop asking, "What will happen?" and start asking, "Who will I be when it does?" Anchor yourself to intention, not expectation. That's the shift. Intention is rooted in the present. Expectation is a fantasy about the future. One builds clarity, The other builds disappointment. Because every time life doesn't go as planned, and it won't, expectation makes it feel like failure. But clarity? Clarity just adjusts the lens and keeps moving. Letting go of outcomes is not giving up. It's leveling up. It's the ability to walk into the unknown with purpose, not panic. To hold direction without demanding destination. To say, "This is who I am, no matter what happens." That's unshakable. That's dangerous. That's free. Think of it like this. Certainty is comfort food for cowards. It tastes good, but it keeps you weak. Clarity is the meal of the disciplined. Lean, nourishing, no fluff. You won't find it by overthinking. You find it by being brutally honest with what you can't control and laser-focused on what you can. So pause. Breathe. Ask yourself, are you chasing certainty because you're strategic or because you're scared? Be honest. Then choose clarity anyway, because clarity doesn't promise safety. It promises power, the kind that moves even when the ground shakes. 3. Let it break, then build without the blueprint. When the plan falls apart, good. That's your cue, not your collapse. Most people panic when things break, but what they don't realize is that the break is the beginning of real strategy. Innovation doesn't come from perfection. It's born in the rubble. The blueprint was never the point. It was just the warm-up. The smartest people in the room? They don't cling to plans. They build mid-battle. They use failure like a live diagnostic, a living, breathing feedback loop telling them exactly what needs to change. We were taught to treat failure like a stop sign, but it's actually a spotlight. It reveals what's real and what's not. When everything's going according to plan, you're not learning. You're just coasting. It's only when things collapse that your mind wakes up, your instincts kick in, and your creativity gets loud. Ask yourself, when was the last time a perfect plan taught you something profound? Here's the truth. No plan survives first contact. Life punches, twists, and reconfigures everything. If you're rigid, you break with it. If you're adaptive, you become dangerous. So when it all falls apart, don't freeze, don't cling. Don't try to rebuild the old version of your life with broken pieces. That was a draft. Let it go. Instead, listen, watch, adjust in real time. Be like water, responsive, forceful, ungraspable. This isn't about winging it. It's about staying present enough to see what's actually happening, not what you hoped would happen. The most effective strategies are living systems, always shifting, always informed by the latest data, your pain, your loss, your resilience. So if it broke, let it. Let the collapse clear the clutter. Let the silence show you what matters. Then get to work, not with a map, but with a compass. Not with a script, but with self-trust. That's how innovators move. They don't need certainty. They just need the courage to rebuild without needing to know what comes next. 4. Stay still. Let the storm expose the weak. When the storm hits, most people rush to fix, to fight, to force a sense of control. But real power doesn't panic, it pauses. In chaos, the loudest voices are usually the most lost, the ones who scramble, who overreact, who chase noise hoping it sounds like strategy. But stillness? Stillness is rare. And in uncertainty, rarity is strength. Silence isn't weakness, it's surveillance. It's the discipline to gather, to wait, to see what others miss because they moved too fast. Reaction is easy. Observation is elite. While others exhaust themselves trying to dominate a situation they barely understand, the calm mind is calculating, conserving energy, and letting the dust settle to reveal what matters. It's restraint that separates amateurs from masters, the ability to not flinch when others do, That's how storms expose the weak, not by what they destroy, but by how people reveal themselves in the scramble. Stillness is not passivity, it's preparation. It's the act of allowing truth to surface on its own, rather than drowning it in urgency. Think about it. When was the last time a rushed decision saved you? We glamorize hustle, but clarity doesn't live in speed. It lives in silence. And that silence is where you reclaim your edge. You don't have to respond to everything. In fact, the moment you feel pressure to react, that's the exact moment to pause. To ask yourself, am I responding to truth or just reacting to fear? This is where dominance hides, in the seconds between stimulus and response. That space is where self-control is forged. So the next time everything feels like it's collapsing, try staying still. Let the chaos play itself out. Let the storm do its work. Let others reveal their fragility through their noise. Because when the wind settles and the debris clears, the one who moved last moved best. Let them run. You watch. Let them speak. You listen. The calm one owns the room. 5. Let them think you're lost. You're just not panicking. Let them think you're lost. Let them underestimate you. In a world obsessed with performance, noise is often mistaken for direction. People rush to speak, to post, to prove they're in control. But in uncertainty, it's not the loudest who win. It's the quietest who last. When chaos hits, the desperate scramble for visibility. But the wise? They stay in the shadows, not out of fear, but out of discipline. You don't owe the world an explanation while you're building. Keep your strategy internal. Move in silence. Let them fill in the blanks with their assumptions. That's their distraction, not yours. Every second you waste proving you're not lost is a second stolen from your focus. Real confidence doesn't seek validation. It builds quietly, brick by brick, while everyone else is yelling over their own insecurity. When you move with intention, you don't need to convince anyone you're okay, because you are. Even if it doesn't look like it, even if they don't get it. That's the art of holding your center in a noisy world. Discipline over drama, stillness over spectacle. While they're trying to be seen, you're trying to see more clearly, more deeply, more strategically. And here's the truth. Uncertainty doesn't expose you. It reveals them. It reveals who's grounded and who's guessing, who's built for impact and who's built for approval. So when people start projecting, doubting, assuming, don't react. Let them. Every false judgment is a mirror turned away from you and back toward their own fear. You don't need to look strong. You need to be steady. You don't need a spotlight. You need a compass. Let them think you're off track. It gives you space to move without noise chasing you. Because in the end, it's not the ones who looked certain that win. It's the ones who stayed calm, moved with care, and never needed applause to keep going. 6. Accept you don't know. That's when you start learning. The moment you say, I don't know, something powerful happens. Your ego flinches, but your growth begins. Most people are too busy pretending to know, too addicted to the illusion of control to admit the truth. They're guessing. And that guesswork, dressed up as certainty, is what keeps them stuck. The ego craves certainty because it's allergic to humility. But humility? That's your unlock code. That's the doorway to everything real, deep, and transformative. Curiosity doesn't need a finish line. It just needs enough space to explore. And that space opens up the second you stop performing intelligence and start living in wonder. I don't know isn't weakness. It's wisdom. It says, I'm not here to defend what I think I know. I'm here to discover what's actually true. And the truth rarely shows up when you're busy proving your status. It arrives when you're silent enough to receive it. Let go of the need to appear certain. Say it out loud. I don't know. Say it to your friends. Say it to your team. Say it to yourself. You'll be shocked how much faster your mind works when it stops pretending it already has the answers. That space between not knowing and discovering, that's where your edge lives. Because when you admit you don't know, your brain stops protecting its pride and starts opening doors. Knowing everything is a closed system. Nothing gets in, nothing gets out. But admitting you don't? That invites life to teach you. It makes you a magnet for insight, for wisdom, for real connection. Nobody grows behind a mask of certainty. They grow through honest surrender. So, when you find yourself reaching for control, stop and ask, am I seeking clarity or clinging to pride? The shift is subtle, but the impact is massive. Embrace the unknown, not because it's easy, but because it's real. And the real journey only begins when you finally say, I don't know, but I'm ready to find out. 7. Plan light, move heavy. Overplanning feels productive, but it's often just procrastination in disguise, a clever way to delay the discomfort of movement. We tell ourselves we're preparing, but what we're really doing is trying to predict every variable, every twist, every potential threat. That's not preparation. That's fear. And fear builds rigid blueprints that fall apart the moment reality doesn't cooperate, which it rarely does. The truth is, if your plan can't pivot, it's already failed. You don't need a map with every turn drawn. You need a compass, a set of principles that guide your decisions when the terrain shifts. Build light frameworks, not heavy scripts. The more flexible your foundation, the more resilient your momentum. Because the goal isn't to avoid surprise, it's to remain unshaken when it comes. And you do that by committing to motion, not perfection. Planning is useful, but only up to the point where it starts replacing execution. At some stage, the smartest thing you can do is stop mapping and start walking. You learn more in motion than you ever will in theory. Every step teaches you what the plan never could. What's real, what's missing, what's possible. So plan light, move heavy. Trust your adaptability more than your outline. The real world is dynamic, not linear. It rewards those who respond, not those who rehearse. Stop waiting to feel ready. Ready is a moving target. Just move. The adjustment you're afraid of? That's the game. Strategy that can't breathe dies the moment it's tested. Ask yourself, am I building for control or building for capacity? Because capacity is what carries you when control collapses. It's not about having a flawless roadmap. It's about having the internal muscle to improvise with purpose. That's how you win in uncertain terrain, not with rigid expectations, but with fluid execution. Think less about how to predict the path, and more about how to own your next step, no matter what the path becomes. 8. Comfort kills, discomfort trains. Discomfort isn't danger, it's data. When you feel uncertain, you're not off track. You're in the growth zone. That edge you're standing on? That's not fear, that's friction. And friction is what transformation feels like. But most people run from it. They call it anxiety, doubt, resistance. They tell themselves they're not ready. But here's the truth. Readiness is a lie. Comfort tells you to keep you average. Your brain wants to conserve energy. It wants patterns, predictability, autopilot. So of course discomfort feels wrong. It's the opposite of routine. But that's exactly why you need it. Growth is not a thought exercise. It's not a journal prompt. It's a grind. It's emotional reps. It's the choice to lean into uncertainty and keep moving anyway. Comfort kills ambition. It seduces you with stability and smothers your edge. It tells you, "You're fine," when you know deep down you're playing small. It says, "You've made it," when your soul knows you've barely scratched the surface. That's the trap. And the way out is simple, but not easy. Choose the hard path. On purpose. Over and over. Because discomfort is training. Every time you feel tension and move forward anyway, you're not just growing, you're hardening your focus, sharpening your instincts, forging resilience. Discomfort is how you teach your nervous system to stop flinching at life. And eventually, the thing that once scared you becomes your new baseline. That's real growth, quiet, invisible, undeniable. Growth doesn't arrive as clarity. It arrives as confusion. It doesn't feel calm. It feels chaotic. That's how you know you're in it. So when you feel stretched, unsure, exposed, don't retreat. That's the representative. That's the moment your future self is built. You want a bigger life? Get more uncomfortable. Train in the unknown. Sit in the friction. Because the truth is, the person you're trying to become lives on the other side of the resistance you keep avoiding. And they're not waiting for perfect conditions. They're waiting for you to step through the fire and stay there. If you're still waiting for certainty before you move, you're not stuck. You're choosing paralysis. Life doesn't reward the most prepared. It rewards the most adaptable. Embrace not knowing. Lean into the unknown. That's where real growth lives, and where your old limitations go to die. Start today. Not when you're ready, but when you're real. Follow Minddrift for more inspiring, life-changing psychological insights on living a peaceful life.